Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rock Shop with Ralph, your source for the best celebrity interviews. You wanted the best, you got the best. The hottest band in the world. Oh, wait. No, it's not Kiss. But let me tell you, it's the closest thing you'll ever get to Kiss without seeing Kiss. I have from the band Classic 78, lead singer and guitarist Tom Higgins. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, Ralph, thanks for having me on. We've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now, so glad we were able to get it together.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. I already had Joe McGinnis on, who's a great, phenomenal guitarist, and he was a great interview. We had a lot of fun. Man, I hope I like to get Charlie Benante. We're going to talk about him for a little bit.
Sure.
But anyway, I got to start off with the Queen's accent and ask you, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm from Boston, so I'm kind of like your distant cousin.
All right. And let me tell you, you're talking about Boston. I've been home. I haven't been anyway. I've been watching movies, and I've been watching The Town, which I love.
Yeah.
And I've been watching Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah.
And everything's like "ka." They say "ka" and Boston. But that's they're pretty tough over there on the South part.
Oh yeah. Every town's got their spots where you got to be careful what you say or who you look at the wrong way.
Right? Yeah. So we're talking about the band Classic 78, which I don't have the physical CD to show you, but Tom has one there. And the latest CD is called Phantoms. Now, to my fans who know that I'm a huge Kiss fan, as you can see with all my memorabilia around me and my shirts that I wear, and I'm always up in Kiss. I'm always promoting Kiss and anything about Kiss. These guys are the closest thing you're going to get to Kiss from 74 to 78. Tom, is that good enough?
Yeah.
I mean, from the guitar sounds, from the vocals, from the drum sound. I mean, they even got a classic commercial promoting the album that you think you're back in the 70s. I mean, this guy's got it down pat, and I love it. I love it. I think we're the same age. I was born in 1970.
Me too, yeah.
There you go. So we're the same age, from the same era. We like the same styles of music. So I don't want to divert too much to the beginnings because you've done so many interviews where you talked about the beginnings. I'm trying to keep it current, but we could talk a little bit about the beginnings. I got to ask these couple of questions. How did you realize, when was the first time you realized that you sounded like Gene, who you sing on the record, and Ace? When did you realize, listen, I sound just like this fucking guy?
Well, Ace has always been my guy since I was a little kid. And, he's the reason, and Kiss is the reason why I picked up a guitar and, pursued that. So, when playing in bands and jamming and stuff like that, you always play Kiss songs and, did the tribute thing for a little while. And
you were in a tribute band?
Yeah.
Oh,
years ago. And nothing major, but, we would do Rip It Out and Shock Me and New York Groove and stuff like that. So I had to, I always sang like that anyway when I sang those songs just for fun jamming, but doing it for a band performing in front of people at a theater or in a casino or whatever, you just kind of dial it in a little bit more and see how close you can get. So I kind of had a pretty good handle on the Ace stuff, but I didn't realize I could, approximate a Gene vocal until, doing this project. I was just for fun. I wanted to see what it'd be like if I tried to write a 70s style Kiss song. I've played that stuff forever. It's a big part of my own personal style when I play guitar and play lead guitar. And it never occurred to me to ever write a song that sounded like that. So I did, and I would just put a reference vocal down. Oh, this is kind of a Gene song. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to sing like Gene. And I was like, okay, that's something. And I noticed I was kind of, in the ballpark. And then I would just tweak it and make adjustments, kind of like doing an impression in some ways. I mean, I don't do impressions, but that's kind of how I looked at it. What can my voice do to approximate that? And then I would record the demo and I kind of go, wow, that's not too shabby. Then I would play it for friends and they would go, what is that? Is that an unreleased song? What is that? So that's how I did that. And then going to record these songs and writing the songs, you just really work to perfect it and try to get all those little nuances and all those little enunciations and the way that he says his R's and his tees, all that stuff. You
Right.
just try to do what you can, to get it as close as possible. And it's kind of scary how close we can get it. When you A/B the stuff, when you listen to me and you listen to Gene, clearly you can tell who's Gene and who's not,
Right.
But in the scope of the music and the riffs and the lyrics and the style and the swagger, it all makes sense, and it takes you there right away,
Right. Now, do you find out, like, through the grapevine? I know you're in the business, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But do you find out, like, what type of microphone that he uses? Do you like even his bass tone? Do you find out what type? I know you know what kind of bass he uses. Everybody knows that. But his amps and his rig on what he's using. Do you kind of like find out the ins and outs on what he's using and using the same thing, or you just got to go by ear and figure out what you're doing?
Yeah, we go by ear and figure it out based on the tools that are available to us. But simple things like playing Les Pauls for the guitars, and I have a Firebird here somewhere that I use for the rhythm guitars as well. Paul used the Firebird, during the Harder Than Hell and the Alive tour. So you kind of use the tools of the trade. I have a Epiphone Ripper bass that I used on some of the songs. He didn't use an Epiphone Ripper bass. He used a Gibson Ripper, but just to kind of get you there and to kind of put you in the, into the mood of what you're doing. So basically, it's more about trying to create with the tools that you have on hand. And it's kind of meat and potatoes. Of course, it's guitars and bass and drums, but they have a certain tonality or a certain quality to it that you can get if you want to get as nerdy or as deep as you can. Now, I'm a stickler. I'm a purist in certain ways, but Joe McGinnis is, he's got that problem 10 times more than I do. That guy will keep digging and digging, and he'll pull out the stuff. You hear what he does with the Paul vocals.
Oh God, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, Charlie Benante. And we've always done it, even on the two prior EPs. We really try to do the best we can with what we have. Charlie has snare drums from the 70s. He's got snare drums that are older than you and me, and he's only a few years older than you and I.
Right.
But so if he's like, well, Peter was using this kind of drum, on a live, then he goes and he goes into his inventory and pulls out a 1973 steel whatever, and now
Right.
he's geeking it up and dialing in those Peter tones and tuning his kit the way that Peter.
Oh, sure.
So it all helps. It's fun to do it, but it all helps in the final result.
Right. Just to let the fans know, as you said, I wanted to tell everybody who the band is. Friend of the show, Joe McGinnis, who we had a great time a couple of months back. He's guitar and Paul. Well, we're going to say Paul's sounding voice. It's not Paul,
yeah,
but
that's right.
And,
style. Yeah.
And drummer extraordinaire, Charlie Benante from Anthrax, is the drummer on this record. And let me tell you, Charlie has these, and me as a drummer, I know, has the snare sound down, the tom sound down. He even has the cowbell sound down. I mean, he sounds exactly like Peter, as Peter did in those 4 or 5 years on Kiss's heyday. I mean, my fans, you cannot get a better Kiss album ever in the past 20 years unless you hear Classic 78. And that's the truth. I mean, 20 years. Yeah, I'll say 20 years because I'd have to go back to Revenge was my last great Kiss album that I heard. I mean, everything else is, I still love Kiss. I love everything that they do, but I'm telling you, these guys have the sound down pat. You would think, well, I have to let the cat out of the bag. You said that the band was made and the first record was made as a record that if the solo albums didn't come out, this is what the record would have sounded like. Their newest record would have sounded like, correct?
Right. What if they had a studio album in 78 instead of solo albums and continued on from that Love Gun, Side 4, Live 2 style, rather than try to dip into the pop and disco type of stuff.
Right. Well, I got a couple of questions about that. We're going to get to that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm trying to keep everything in order. Let me ask you, my first foray into you guys was, believe it or not, Eddie Trunk. Eddie Trunk, you were on Eddie Trunk. I'm known as the poor man's Eddie Trunk. I'm sorry. But Eddie said, you got to listen to this band. They sound just like Kiss. As soon as I hear Kiss, my ears fucking perk up. And they says, they're Kiss, but they're not Kiss. It's original music sounding like Kiss. So I looked up Classic 78 and I go on, I see the Standing Tall video. And I hear you guys and I'm like, holy shit. Now I got to ask you, I couldn't recognize you in that video. Is that Joe, you? And I know Rory was the drummer and there's another guitarist.
I was the guitar. I was the lead guitarist, kind of like the ace type of spot. The bass player who sat in for the video is my buddy Joe Calabro, who he was in a Gene and a Kiss tribute band that I was in, and he's a good friend. So a good friend of Rory and I. So he. I couldn't be in two places at once. So
right. I was trying to figure that out. I'm glad I got you on the show.
Right. Wanted to get that visual presentation down, and I knew that he could do it if he was, if he was up to it, and he jumped right in. So that was great, and that was so a fun thing because we didn't know if we were ever going to do this again, and it was just a fun way to kind of document a visual to what we had done up to that point.
Yeah.
And people got a kick out of that, and it's a cool tune. And we do the song a little bit different than the studio version. It's more of a live arrangement, and that was a lot of fun. I'm glad you liked that. I'm glad.
I love it. And what I particularly love is the commercial. How did you get? I mean, my fans, if you go on YouTube and look up Classic 78, KLASSIK 78, they have a commercial. And it's set in the 70s with the actual squiggly lines. And Don Kirshner's rock concert is on there. And the K-Tel, me being from the kid from the 70s and 80s, watching TV on Saturday night, that's exactly how the commercial looked. And they have their album being advertised just like that. How did you get that done?
Well, those clips exist out on the wide world web. So I just took a few seconds of a few of those clips, and then I just sandwiched I created a commercial for our record by itself, and then I just sandwiched it in between the other 2 or 3 commercials to make it look as though they were happening on a broadcast in 1978. It was just a fun way to kind of, the sound is obviously, we're intentionally trying to sound like Kiss. We're trying to honor that sound and that style that we fell in love with when we were kids. Or if you weren't alive then and you discovered Kiss, you may like those older records and the sound that the band made. So now let's do that with the time period. Let's time travel and throw that Don Kirshner's rock concert commercial in front of a Classic 78 commercial, and then zip it right into the Phantom of the Park.
I love that. That was the best thing. I was going to mention that. And at the end of it, it goes to Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, and you're like, I was like set back into like 1978. It was fucking great. It was right. Holy shit.
It's like everybody knows it's not really Kiss. Everybody knows it's today, but the sound is so retro on purpose that let's bring it back and do it that way too. So you and I are talking in real time today, but there's a new commercial that we released a couple of weeks ago. That's from the Midnight Special. So we time travel from today to back there, however we want to talk about the record or present it. It's just all fun stuff.
Right. And you guys are doing a great job. So let's talk about the album. The album is called, and I spoke with Joe already. We know how Joe got his start and how he got in the band and all that stuff. And we know how Charlie got in. Charlie being a huge fan. I can't say enough about Charlie. He's one of my favorite drummers and a huge Kiss fan. And how he got the guitar, how he got the drum tones down pat. Okay. Let's talk about some of the songs. Show Me Your Love is the opener. And you had sort of like an acoustic part going in the beginning, almost like, how would you compare that song to like, which?
Well, we had a few ways to go with it. That was Joe McGinnis's idea he suggested that, on the last album, actually, he suggested maybe we should, have a song that opens with an acoustic, like "I Want You" or
right.
Rock
Room
Bottom,
Service, Rock Bottom,
right, or Black Diamond, or even "Tonight You Belong to Me," from Paul's 78 album. So on this record, we had the opportunity to do that. So I remembered he had talked about that. So I gave him just a a couple chords in the chorus melody from the actual electric part of the song. And I said, do what you want to do with it. And he could have got rock. He could have went Black Diamond. He could have went Rock Bottom, but he went with Tonight You Belong to Me. And that's what, that's a tip of the hat to that type of approach. And then it kicks into a hard driving riff. Joe put that whole acoustic intro and all those vocals on that acoustic intro together himself. He produced it, he recorded it, and just sent it to me.
I got to go on record saying, and I told Joe this, Joe McGinnis is a phenomenal guitar player, people. Phenomenal guitar player. He could play anything, and he's even a country artist, which we joked about when he was on the show. Yep. Phenomenal guitar player, Joe McGinnis. I can't say enough about him. Even the stuff, cover your ears, with quarantine. But he is a phenomenal guitarist. And this album is chock full of nuts. Kiss, any way you want to slice it, it's Kiss sounding. One of the songs I got to tell you, and this is the Ace vocal, is Smoke and Mirrors. If you want to hear Ace, a brand new Ace track from 1976 to 77, you got to listen to Smoke and Mirrors, because that guy right there, Tom Higgins, is Ace Frehley to a fucking T. I thought you got Ace to guest on the friggin' album, Tom.
That's cool. Yeah, you know what? I when I put these songs together and before I send them to the guys, I really want to I've said this before, but I kind of I want to do it. I want to do them proud. If they ever hear it, I want them to get a kick out of it. Ace was really cool. He was solid as a rock back then. He was living the rock star life, but he wasn't screwing up shows. Right. He was playing great live. They were playing great as a unit. And because Ace is my initial guy, when I do the Ace songs, because there's only one Ace song per album when we do it, I put a little extra love into it because I really want people to remember how good this guy was, even though it's me doing it. I'm not saying I'm the equivalent of that. I'm just saying if I'm trying to conjure up that vibe, I want to conjure up the solid kick-ass, the guy is dialed in vibes that people remember from 78 and prior, So I work hard on that, make sure that the riff is cool, make sure that the lyrics make sense. It's something that he might sing or that makes sense to the listener. And I work on the melodies and the vocal. I mean, he's a vocal stylist. He's not a vocalist.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So he's got a sound, but he's not a technician. So I just do my best to present them and him in whatever song we do in the best light, because I want people to think of the great things that they did, and those are the things that influenced us.
And I got to ask you, Tom, when you're writing, because I know you're the principal writer on the albums, do you say to yourself, hey, you know what? Let me pull out Love Gun, and I want to write a song that sounds like Love Gun. Do you do that? Is that what you do, or you just start writing and whatever comes?
It's kind of it's a little bit like that, and but it has more to do with what might pop into my head. If I'm home playing or if I'm driving, a riff might come into my head, and then I'll sing it to myself or record it in my phone and listen back to it. And I go, oh, that's kind of like a Gene riff, a Gene riff from where? Is that 78 solo album Gene, or is that Dress to Kill Gene? What is that? And then it's like, oh, that's definitely like a Destroyer, Dress to Kill type of whatever. And then I get my direction. So I don't go, I'm going to write God of Thunder, or I don't go, I'm going to write Deuce. I just try to follow the idea of, this needs to be legitimate, that people hear this riff and hear these words and hear that vocal melody and go, oh yeah, he would do that. And now I don't just manufacture the stuff saying, oh, I put on boots and spit blood and throw that in the lyrics. I'm actually trying to craft it,
because I got to say, as a fan, and as a huge fan of Kiss, what I hear is your sound is more of Rock and Roll Over, Destroyer, and Love Gun. You don't divulge too much into my favorite album, which is Dress to Kill. Sound wise, I don't hear too much of that.
You talking about the song? You talking about the vocal, or you talking about the sound of the record?
I'm talking about the sound of the record. Mm-hmm. Sound of the record. That's my opinion, and I love everything you guys are doing. I'm just saying, my favorite Kiss. Hey, my favorite Kiss album is Destroy.
Dress to Kill.
Dress to Kill,
Mhm.
and I love. I mean, those songs on there. 3 minutes, you're out. 2.5 minutes, you're out, man. You know, and Room Service, Love Her All I Can, Come On and Love Me. You know, Two Timer. You know, stuff like that. I love those songs. I'm just saying, what I hear on your records is those three records.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. The guitar tone is kind of approximated, you know, roughly on all the records, you know, somewhere between Love Gun, Rock and Roll Over, and Dress to Kill.
Right.
But overall, the production is leaning more towards that 76, 77 production. But, you know, it's funny that, you know, everybody hears things differently because they're listening for certain things that they like about it. But you know, a song on here, you know, there's like 3 songs that are very influenced by Dress to Kill.
Which ones?
Well, Queen of Hearts has a three-part vocal harmony on all the verses.
That's on Phantoms.
Yeah, that's from that's kind of a tip of the hat to Love Her All I Can. Not in terms of the style of the song or the sound of the song, but the approach. 3-part harmonies on the verses, and then Paul takes over. You know, and then there's the end of a song we have on this record called "Living Fantasy Tonight."
That's my favorite on the song on the album.
Oh, that's cool, man. We're very happy with that song. At the end of it, Charlie starts to do this. He's doing kind of like a King of the Nighttime World thing on the choruses. And at the end, he goes into a groove that's kind of almost like a Ladies in Waiting type of groove. It's a little syncopated thing. And it's just little touches, you know, doom, bop, bop, you know, little things.
Boom,
like
bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's doing on the drums.
Bam, bam.
Yeah. So there's little bits and pieces of that type of
stuff.
Come
on, sing it, Tom. So you came to the North End, and the meat looks good tonight. The ladies in waiting.
You've got it covered, Ralph.
Hey, I sing on this show, baby. I sang with Mark Farner. I sang with Johnny Gioeli. I sang with Eric Martin. Come on. I sing with all of them, baby. I don't care, but it's great. But yeah, I mean, and that's a tip to the hat to you, because I can't say enough, Tom. I love what you're doing, period. Now I got a couple more questions. I want to ask you, we got the duet. I was waiting for it. We got the duet with Walk That Walk. We got the Gene and Paul together on the record, which was great. You pulled that out of a hat.
Right. We've never done that before either, which was something.
I know. That's why I said it, because I have been following you, and I know I don't have the physical CD this time, but I get the digital download and I listen, and I'm like, wow, they finally did it. You have the duets.
That was a fun one to do, and you know, to be able to do things that we haven't done before, you know, like that, to have them trade off vocal lines, you know, or Joe doing the acoustic part on "Show Me Your Love." Just there are things that we did on this record that we haven't done before, and there's things that you would maybe expect from that just sounds like 70s Kiss. So that particular tune, "Walk That Walk," I remember Joe. I sent him the track, and he was cutting his vocals, and he wouldn't stop talking about how, you know, about that one. He just that one really hooked him right out of the gate. Yeah, he did. And he does a great job of that. I mean, it's cool that we get to hear us both on it. Yes. You know, and then the drums are just killer on it, and
Charlie kills it, man. Charlie, what a difference, man. Charlie kills it.
It's got a strut to it. It's got like a New York City vibe type of.
Well, that's where he's from.
Yeah, and you know, the song does, his approach does. He just really understands what it is we're doing, because, you know, not to Charlie is a great guy, and we know he's a Kiss fan, but what was great about it is that Charlie wasn't trying to play Charlie Benante. He's like, I want to be Peter Criss for the next,
and I hear
30 minutes, you know. This is what you guys do. This is the role of the drummer in Classic 78. I want to do that. You know, and it worked out great, because he had a blast doing this stuff, and it shows, you know.
Right. Well, fans, there's 8 tracks on the new album. It's called Phantoms by Classic 78. The last one is called Rock and Roll Over. And on that song, I got to tell you, I hear Ladies Room.
That's funny.
I hear Ladies Room. When I heard that song, I'm like, that's Ladies Room. You know, like you said, every fan hears something different.
Right. Because and I can tell you, just from my point of view, you know, creating this song, that Ladies Room wasn't even in the idea. But you see what happens. Just things start to pop up when things, you know.
Yes.
someone will say, like you said, the record doesn't sound like Dressed to Kill production wise, and then tomorrow someone will post online, oh my God, this sounds just like
Dressed to Kill.
We all hear, as long as people are happy.
Yes.
And they hear things that sound familiar, that make them happy, or they think are cool. That's all we care about.
You mentioned that, and one of my heroes is Ronnie James Dio. I know we might get sidetracked a little bit, but there's a point to this. What I want to say is you would ask him, Ronnie, what do these lyrics mean? When you were writing this, what does it mean? He used to say, what do you think it means? And he wouldn't answer the question. He would just say, what do you think it means? And then, because I met him and I asked him a couple, and he was like, well, if that's what you think it means, then that's what it means. You know what I mean? But let me ask you now. You're saying 74 to 78.
Yeah.
Will Classic 78 ever divulge further down the trough into Unmask?
No.
Elder?
Nope.
Creatures in, well, how about the Kisco? Will they ever go that way?
No Classic 79, no Classic 80, no Classic 81. I have a affinity for that Creatures of the Night.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So I would like
the
to do
drum
something.
sound alone. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The drum sound alone on that record.
Right.
I'd like to do sound alone.
I would like to do something as a tip of the hat to that at some point, if it ever makes sense. But that's just like a little, because I don't want to step too far out, but that's something that I am intrigued with maybe giving a shot at some point. But yeah, we're going to stick with that thing. And like in this band, Charlie's the drummer. Joe McGinnis plays guitar and he sings the Paul-like vocals, and he plays acoustic. I'm the lead guitar player. I play the guitar, I play the bass, and I do the Ace-like vocals, and I do the Gene-like vocals, and it's a good formula. Joe McGinnis, when he plays in Quarantine, he's the lead guitar player. He doesn't have to carry the weight of being the lead vocalist, and he gets to play lead guitar in that band, and he's a monster player,
absolutely.
So it's good. So he gwe scratch that itch with that, and he gets to scratch the itch with the 70s Kiss, doing the Paul vocals and playing the rhythm stuff, So we're not going to break it if it doesn't need fixing, we're not going to fix it.
Well, I know Joe's a big fan of that, of Unmasked. He says it's a great pop album. I know, because he said it on my show.
Every single interview, people have asked if we would not. They didn't ask if we would duplicate the Unmasked thing. They've asked if we would put a tougher production on the Unmasked type of stuff.
Well, that's the thing with Unmasked. It's like produced horribly at the sound of it, but I don't think it's a great album. I think it's a good album. There's good songs on it. So I know Joe's a fan of the song Easy As It Seems.
Yeah, I like Tomorrow. I think Is That You is a classic Paul song, even though he didn't write it. But there's songs on there there's some bits and pieces on there that are cool, that I think are cool,
Yes. All right. Well, I got to ask the inevitable question, and I know it's been asked in other interviews. Live gigs.
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask this. Creatures Fest, that would have been the perfect slot for you guys to play on, because that's happening the end of May. You got Ace, Peter, Bruce, Vinnie Vincent, who I hate to give publicity to, and what you call it's going to be there too. Is Quarantine going to be there?
Yeah, yeah.
And Quarantine's going to be there as well.
Right.
Were you guys ever approached to do any festivals, any type of live gigs? And if you do those live gigs, will you wear makeup?
Right. That's a good question. There haven't been any offers made. There was one event that approached us, and it just unfortunately just logistically weren't able to do it.
It's got to work.
Yeah, but the Creatures Fest, we weren't asked. We weren't invited to do that. Joe's already doing it with Quarantine, so that's fine. He gets to put his time into that and not overload his schedule. But Neil's a great guy. Neil Davis is a great guy. If we ever got the call, I'd certainly take the call. We haven't heard from the Kiss Cruise or anything. Yeah, I'm just saying obvious things that people have asked us about.
Right.
Kiss Cruise, or Kiss Expo or whatever. So we if stuff like that happens, it'll come from a promoter who would like us at his or her event, or from an agent, you know. We're open to all those situations as long as it makes sense and it's cool, you know. Going out on a tour isn't an option, you know. Charlie, you know, he's a pro. He's been doing this since he was a kid. You know, that's his life, is Anthrax and touring and writing and recording and stuff like that. So, you know, going in a van and doing a week of dates in clubs isn't really a realistic thing business wise, or you know, the idea that Charlie would be available or interested in doing that, even if we were. I'm not interested in doing that. I'd want it to be something that's significant or solid, that really makes sense and is presented in a proper fashion. Nothing outrageous, just total pro right. Situation, you know.
So basically, Classic 78 is built for studio albums, maybe a gig here and there, no touring for let's just say 30 dates in 2 months or whatever.
Exactly. But if like, you know, Charlie kind of half joked about it, you know, in the last month or so, that, you know, he sent the album to Scott from Anthrax, and Scott loved it. And he said, do you think Classic 78 would open up a few shows
for Anthrax
later on in the air? So that would be fun. That would be a blast to go up and do that, you know. Joe McGinnis is in quarantine with Jericho. If Jericho's doing a couple of weeks and he you know, he hasn't asked us and we haven't asked him, I'm just letting, you know, just in terms of osmosis,
right.
Hey, why don't you guys come out do 7 dates with us, you know, something like that. That's something organic like that, or from a promoter or from an agent.
Yeah,
you know, that's
Anthrax just announced the co-headlining tour with Black Label Society.
Yeah, that's great. They're going to be going out for
you know,
summer.
so they're definitely going to be going out. All right, so we got that. Now I got to ask you this, Peter. Are we going to have a Peter vocal on the next Classic 78 album? I'm available.
Listen, I would love to have a Peter vocal. Charlie would, Joe would, and you know, we've talked about it, we've joked about it, you know. But really, it's hard to mimic that voice. He's got such a unique, solid voice. You know, if anything, I would love to have Peter sing on a track and maybe donate.
Oh, that would be good.
Maybe donate the proceeds to, you know, breast cancer
research, right?
Because unless somebody came across who actually sounds exactly like him, not somebody who can sing Peter songs, but somebody who sounds just like him when he sings. You know, it's a tall freaking order. You know, you can't. The guy's got a voice and a half. You know, he certainly did. If he doesn't anymore, I don't know. But, you know, if the situation comes along where someone presents themselves and it's just undeniable that it sounds, you know, basically it has to sound as close to Peter as Joe sounds as close to Paul, or I sound as close to Gene or Ace, you know.
Yes.
And it's just because we want to represent. We don't want to do a half-ass scenario. On the first record, I did my best to do a Peter type of vocal on a song called Mean Business. And I'm happy with it to a certain extent, but I hear where it falls short.
Right.
You know? And it was, we didn't know if we were going to do a second record. So it's like, well, we want to represent his voice, you know, because who knows if we'll ever do this again. But in hindsight, I wish I didn't do that. But that's just me. There are people out there who like it. So you never know if we find the right scenario.
I'm hoping to do, because I'd love to hear it.
I've got tunes that are waiting for a Peter Criss voice. It's just we don't want to throw a subpar performance on a record that we're really happy with.
Yes,
you know, the artwork, the songs, the whole deal. You know,
I got last 2 questions. Me and Joe joked about this, and we thought about it. The next album, and I know this has been said, but we kind of said it the same way, but something different. How about a Classic 78 live album? Right? I know that's been said, but with 4 new tracks. But on the 4 tracks, you got Bruce Kulick playing guitar, and you don't tell anybody. So like the way they did with Bob Kulick and Dick Wagner. You know, Kevin Valentine on drums or something. No. you know what I mean? And you do that, and you fool the fans. You know, you do something like that. Yeah. Wait, go ahead.
No, you go.
And also, how about an idea for another album? Joe brought it up. Is called Covers with a K, and you have you guys imitating the Gene and Paul voices, but doing different songs.
Yeah.
Like, you'll do Gene doing I'm too sexy. Like, I'm too sexy for my shirt. It's doing something like that. Well, we'll stick it to the rock realm. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like singing Janie's Got a Gun or something like that. You guys are doing cover songs, but
Yeah,
sounding like Kiss.
Yeah, I saw that. You guys were talking about that. What's funny too is I wanted to answer your question because when you spoke with Joe McGinnis, you spoke about Classic '78, and you also spoke about Quarantine and the stuff that he had coming up and all that
Great
stuff.
band, great band.
But you had asked about, why did we name the album Phantoms? Like, where did that come from?
Yes.
Right. So the idea is that because we didn't say who we were until about a week after the record came out. It was just kind of a spontaneous decision to do that, But it's a proper album. You gotta do publishing credits and writing credits, and there's more the formal things that you have to do. So it didn't make sense to have my name in the writing credits or have Joe's name in the writing credits on the song that he wrote with me, and then not say who's in the band. And then it's Charlie Benante, and even in interviews, even if he covered his face, you're gonna recognize it. You're gonna recognize his voice or the room that he's filming in, because he's been filming since the whole quarantine thing in the studio. So it's just like, after a week of the record being out, after the initial hubbub about the album being out, we just said, yeah, let's just do it. So here's the thing. So before, we didn't know that in advance. So the idea is that, Phantoms is from '78, obviously the movie Kiss Meets the Phantom, but nobody knows who we are, right? So you got this music coming out that is kind of a ghost of what Kiss used to be. We don't know who it is, so they're kind of like phantoms creating this sound. So you do a little tip of the hat with the roller coaster on the album cover, and the and the Sammy the Serpent and the album cover design.
And
Claudio
the roller coaster.
Yeah, the roller coaster on it, and the instrumentation from that era, the bass and the guitars, and Claudio Bergerman is the artist on that, and he really he was his idea to put the Serpent in there, and and all these different things.
Wait, who'd you say, Claudio Bergerman?
Claudio Bergerman. He's an artist.
He just did the Judas Priest album.
That's right. Yeah, he's out of Northern California, and he's a talented guy. Big Kiss fan. So that's why we call it Phantoms, and that's kind of it's kind of like a tip of the hat in a few different directions, sonically, visually, and who are these guys?
You elaborated, because when I asked Joe that question, he was like, I don't know. That's what he fucking, he wanted to say, who the fuck knows? That's Tom named the fucking album.
Yeah.
Because I was taken aback when I like Phantoms. It just didn't sound,
you were thinking, why isn't there a song called Phantoms?
Yeah,
or something
what the fuck is Phantoms,
It's more of a theme as opposed to a soundtrack,
I got you. Okay, I got to ask you, what is your least favorite Kiss album?
Ooh,
I'm not saying you hate any of them. All I'm saying is, what's your least favorite?
I would say my least favorite one is Carnival of Souls, only because they didn't know where they were trying to hang on, and I just didn't feel. All the performances are really good, all the playing is really good. I just felt like it was
through Alice in Chains.
You know what? I'm changing my answer, Ralph.
Okay.
Here's my answer. At least they had a direction they wanted to try, and they made a concerted effort to go in that direction with Carnival of Souls. So that has merit. My least favorite one is Psycho Circus, and the reason being is because they just did 150 dates with the original lineup or whatever.
Nobody played on them,
and you couldn't take the time to get to record drum tracks and to have the guys on it. It's like, even if they just said, Ace, you're not going to play a single rhythm guitar on this thing except on your own song, but you're going to play lead guitar on every one of these friggin' songs, and Peter, we're going to spend the time and get these drums right. Because at that point you have Pro Tools. You can, if his meter is out of whack and he's speeding up a little bit, you can adjust that. Everybody's been doing that for almost 2 decades now. It just was a missed opportunity. And I didn't like the whole "We Are One." We wanted the best. You got it's like
that was a horrible fucking song, and that's the only song all 4 of them were on. Was that one? You wanted the best, and the only one that Peter played drums on was "Into the Void" with Ace.
Right, and the 4 of them were on that one too. But Peter wasn't on you wanted the best, but he sang on it. You're right.
Sang on it. That's what I meant.
Right. But the thing is that it was the sentiment of what they're doing. Oh, we're all one, and this is great, and it's all for one. And then the album is absolutely the opposite of that. You're right. Behind the scenes. And that was a disappointment. That was a missed opportunity. That was going for.
We hear and we obey.
Oh, that's
what the fuck is he saying? Nonsense. Oh my God. I never heard obey in a song before.
Psycho Circus is a solid rock and roll track. That could have been, if it's to some people it already is, but that could have been something special, that tune, you know. And I think that that was a missed opportunity, and that's why that record is my least favorite Kiss record.
What do you think of I Pledge Allegiance to the State?
I think it's a good song. There's some musical bits in it. There's some guitar bits in there that I wouldn't have done if I was producing that record, but I wasn't producing that record.
The one, so yeah, go ahead.
It's got, that song had potential. That song had potential.
I thought when that album came out, like the song Raise Your Glasses, I thought for sure they would have sold that to Budweiser, and it would have been like the song of the fucking summer, and everybody's holding up Budweiser, and the, you know.
What's funny is the very beginning of that song, or I guess it's the chorus music. The chords are it's the chorus to it's My Life, the unreleased track.
Yes,
you know, you can sing that
because I'll do what I
you can sing that right over the intro of Raise Your Glasses, you know. And It's My Life is a better song than Raise Your Glasses. I
couldn't believe how that didn't make the album. That song Is My Life. That's
right. Every band has a career like that where there are things that are obvious to the fans, you know, that they don't realize. Why didn't we ever release? Why didn't we put It's My Life on Creatures of the Night? You know, we're going, why didn't you do that? They didn't see it, and that's okay. They're not, you know, you can't see everything, but every band's got those songs where you're like, oh, I wish they did that. But anyways,
well, I know you guys got more songs, and there's going to be more albums, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed. I love the album, fans. It's called Phantoms Classic 78, and you can go to Classic 78 KLASSIK 7 8.com, and you can order the CD. And you can get some info on the band. But please, to my fans, if you guys are Kiss fans, take my word for it. These guys are the real deal. No doubt about it. They sound like the classic era of Kiss. And you're not going to have Kiss anymore because it's the end of the road, as my poster says right behind me. So these guys are going to be carrying the torch. Now that we're finished with that, I got to ask you, you work for another great legendary band. You worked for the band Aerosmith, correct?
I do. I started to work. I started working for them in 2000. So for the better part of the last 22 years, I've been working for them. You know, my role is kind of like a jack of all trades. I do some creative. I do some archival. I do some teching. I do some of the road work, you know, road manager. I've been an assistant tour manager on a few things. And, you know, I'm kind of like, I'm aware of a lot of different things, and I have a lot of different knowledge about a lot of different things that are unique to the band. So I come in handy for a lot of things, whether they're recording or not recording, or whether they're touring or not recording, or whether they have archival projects happening or not. I tend to have, you know, skill sets that apply to all those things, regardless of what cycle they're in, you know.
Awesome. It's funny because I was just watching American Pickers when they found the old Aerosmith van and they called Ray Tabano the original guitarist. You weren't involved with that, were you?
No, that was something that Ray in the show and management had put together. And that my services weren't needed for that at all, you know, because Ray and the band knew where the van was, I think, and it was just a matter of them putting that together. I really wasn't involved in that, so I couldn't tell you other than that, you know, but that was something that.
Last question about Aerosmith. They're having their residency now, correct?
Yeah, they're starting up in June. And
Joey Kramer's not involved with that?
Yeah, they announced that he's going to sit out for the year. I don't know what the ins and outs of that are. You know, he's an integral part of that band. You know, and you know the work. You know, when I think of it, you know, Kiss is the gateway for me. Kiss is the band. I mean, I was into, you know, music,
right?
As a little
different
boy,
styles of music.
But Kiss was the thing that I latched onto as a young man, and you know, not a young man, but a kid. You know, and realized this rock and roll thing, and this is cool. But if it wasn't for Kiss, I would not have discovered Led Zeppelin or Aerosmith, or I wouldn't have been able to understand it, because of Kiss. Was able to learn Jimmy Page licks. Because of Kiss, I was able to learn Joe Perry and Brad Whitford licks, and Foghat and Tesla and Tom Kiefer, and you name it. All the stuff that I gravitated towards tended to be bluesy 70s hard rock stuff. But Aerosmith is undeniable, and it's what's interesting is that much like Kiss is the pieces of the puzzle make that sound. And after all these years, they still deliver live, and it's
yeah. I mean,
whether you loved Permanent Vacation, or whether you hated it, or whether you loved the Get Your Wings album or hated the Get Your Wings album, whatever it is, they do it live. They pull it off live.
Absolutely.
Joe Perry is Joe Perry as soon as he gets out of bed every morning.
Right.
Brad Whitford is Brad Whitford as soon as he gets out. There's no distinction between being on stage and not being on stage. They know who they are. They know when they get on stage together, they don't have to talk. They know exactly what to do. And it's been it's the best job I've ever had. It's been the most taxing job I've ever had, but it's the most satisfying job, because I'm just saying this so people know, I don't throw around the Aerosmith card, because it's not my show. It's their show. It's their circus. I'm just one of the monkeys, So when you have a job like this, you have to turn yourself off in order to serve the agenda for the day, whether that's get somebody someplace, or get something someplace, or there's a show today, or we're traveling today, or whatever. What's going on in my brain, or what I need to do that day, if it has nothing to do with the job, is irrelevant. This is where the taxing part comes in. You have to compartmentalize what's going on in your life to go do the job. So that's where the sacrifice comes. That's where the tax comes from. But when you're respected and you're trusted, and when you have an issue, which is very rare, and they give you the full attention, that makes you go the extra mile for them. And because you go the extra mile for them, they go the extra mile for you. And it just kind of feeds itself in a positive way. It doesn't happen that way for everybody, but this long into it, 2 decades, basically, I'm aware of how lucky I am that I'm able to do this. And I don't need to be part of the glamour. I don't need to be on the stage to be satisfied in this. If I can't be on stage playing that guitar for a living, this is the second best thing to be part of this organization and to contribute.
Absolutely, and it's got to be a great gig. But anyway, I'm so happy that you're happy doing that, and I'm happy that you came on the show, and you have a huge fan here, and I hope you get more fans from my fans listening to this. And as I said, go out and get the Classic 78 album, Phantoms. Go to www.classic, KLASSIK78.com, and all the information's there. And I hope to see you guys live. I really do. And I
think you will, Ralph. I think
you
will.
And I want to thank Tom Higgins for coming on the show. Joe McGinnis. Hey, Joe, once again, we'll talk soon. And Charlie, if you're listening, I want you on. Get in touch with me.
We'll work on that. And I want to just say one thing, Ralph. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for having Joe on. We appreciate all the support. And for folks out there, if you like 70s Kiss, you'll dig this record. If you like
Absolutely.
70s if you just like 70s hard rock, you'll dig this record. It's a good 70s real rock and roll record. It just so happens that it's geared towards that 70s.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Tom. I'm going to send you an email.
Thank you, Ralph.
All right. I appreciate it. Bye.